All right, so we're going to go through this transformation project just as a refresher if you need it as you're working. The main thing is you need to have an original picture that has 10 or more points, and it should have detail to it and not just a picture of a shape or a letter. You can see the examples that are on Google Classroom if you need to. It should be completely inside one of the quadrants of the coordinate plane. Okay, so make it impressive. All right. You have plenty of time now to work on this, so it should be very detailed and not just a blank paper. So you should draw all of your pre-image or original points and label them and make sure they're all on vertices so that it's easier to do all the transformations. And then on the back of your coordinate grid, list the points in ordered pairs. So then next you will translate, reflect, and rotate your image. You can do this in any order that you want. You can start at the original and do all three from the original and go back to the original every time. Or you can start at the original, do a transformation, use that second shape, do another one, and so on. You can do it however you would like. All points should be listed with a title above it so we can determine if they're correct. Then each image should have an arrow showing the direction that the image is moving, as well as color coding the image in ordered pairs. And I will show you more about that on my example. All right, so you need to document all of the transformations and label the vertices correctly. So make sure you look at the rubric below. So this is your rubric. Okay. So the first thing is you need to create a picture that has 10 points. Okay, you can have more than that, but it should not have less than 10. All right, so you will need to perform a translation and move it to another quadrant. So if you start in quadrant 1, you need to perform a translation that makes it end up in quadrant 2, 3, or 4. You need to perform a reflection and then move it to another quadrant. So if you're starting in quadrant 2, it has to end up in 1, 3, or 4. You need to do a rotation and make sure that it ends up in another quadrant. It needs to be color coordinated to the picture, so your points should match your picture. It has to be school appropriate, and it should be neatly drawn and colored. Yes, it needs to be colored. For those of you that are going to ask me 15 more times if it needs to be colored, yes, it needs to be colored. All right, so for my example, I did the crests for the Hogwarts houses. All right, so this one was my original, the Ravenclaw one. And if I had more time and we didn't miss the next 3 weeks of school, this one would be blue. And all of the points for this one, so if you can't see it, the points are here, here, and across the top here. All of the points for this one are listed directly behind it. And it says Ravenclaw, and that will be blue, and that's the original one. And I listed all 10 of my points. Okay. And then from there, if you can see the arrow here, from the Ravenclaw one, I rotated it to get the Hufflepuff one, which is not done. Okay, so then all of this one will be yellow, and all of the points for this one are listed right behind it on the graph. So it says Hufflepuff, and then it was rotated from Ravenclaw 180 degrees. And then there are all of my new points for a Hufflepuff. All right, then my next shape, I took the Hufflepuff crest and reflected it over here for the Slytherin crest. All right, so that's what that arrow is showing. So point B, you can see, started over here, and it was reflected over here. And now all of the points for Slytherin are right behind it on the back. And it says Slytherin. I reflected Hufflepuff over the y-axis. And then there are my 10 points for Slytherin. And then the last one, so that it would end up in quadrant 2, is Gryffindor. And I took the Ravenclaw crest, and I used translation to move it to the left and then up, so that it was in quadrant 2. And the points for that are listed on the back. So it says the Gryffindor crest started at Ravenclaw, and I moved it from the original point xy to x minus 14, and then y plus 3. So there's the description. And then there are all of the points listed for the Gryffindor crest. If you have questions, you can ask on Google Classroom.